This episode mixes a little history, scandal, murder, and three women commenting on all of it. And just to make sure it's clear, this episode has no redeeming value at all. Before you ask, no, you won't be quizzed on this. Welcome to Jacqui Just Chatters. Thank you for joining me. I'm your hostess, Jacqui Lents, and I'm trying to make the world a little better, one story at a time. Whimsical episodes come out every other Tuesday. What's your story? If you've got one, reach out via my website. Now let's get chatting. Welcome back to Jacqui Just Chatters. I am here with two wonderful guests. One of them is my sister. She is back again. Nikki, why don't you say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
If they are unfamiliar with you, real quick, tell them something about you.
I'm your younger sister, and
I'm old. Thanks.
that was not what I was trying to say. It's true. You're older, but anyway, I have
15 months older.
Yeah, 15 months older, which didn't really make a difference to me until I had my own kids. And then I was like, whoa, 15 months is really close. I have two kids. And I have a degree in engineering. There we go. That's my life.
And you're a readaholic.
And I love to read.
You stay up way more past midnight reading than I do these days.
Oh, definitely. Way, way more. Way.
She's a binger.
I do.
My other guest, which I'm sort of excited, this is her debut on this podcast, and I'm hoping it won't be her last, is the fabulously funny Yvonne Vincent, who is the author of the cozy mystery series, The Loser Club, and it is brilliant. And I recommend the audio version. The Scottish accent is divine. Welcome to the show, Yvonne.
Thank you for having me, Jacqui.
This is going to be a lot less highbrow than your last interview. Yeah, folks, she recently was interviewed on the BBC.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
I was so scared. But it was great fun. It was really good fun. And yeah, meeting up with the presenter for coffee now.
Ooh.
She was lovely, absolutely lovely, and just had a great time.
You're a proper celebrity now.
No.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be not to the quality of the BBC.
It was totally different from podcasting. It was very different. It was all in short bursts in between other things that were coming on, and totally different from podcasting, but very interesting to do.
How did you not lose your train of thought constantly?
I did. I kind of went. She kept saying to me things like, what is on your blog? And you know something, I could not remember a single thing that was on my blog. I've been writing it since 2018 and I could not remember a single thing. And I just went blank, you know what it's like when you just freeze, don't you? So yeah, I had just had a complete senior moment and could not remember a thing.
Oh my God. You know what? I've realized they're not senior moments. They are perimenopause brain fog moments.
They are, yeah.
Perry's taken over and your brain just, we're just not going to work right now. Thanks for coming though.
I just call it Menno brain. It's
yes, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that Menno brain.
Yeah, it's when everything just disappears mid-sentence.
I agree.
Today, we're doing a little different format. I have 3 historical news stories, and I'm going to read them. And my guests are going to interrupt me a lot to discuss what we are reading. And I think we're all going to have a good time with it. So sit back, relax, chill, and get ready to chuckle. Our first story comes from the Washington Post, March 8th, 1914. So we are going way back. And the title
When did
of
World War
this
II happen? Start was
Before
1914.
this is before World War One.
I meant World War One, but
Yeah,
did it start 1914?
it did,
Yeah.
but the U.S. didn't get involved till the second half of the war. For us,
I'm laughing because that's like
To be
to
honest,
we
let's hear.
only America was only involved really in one fighting season. It turned
Right,
the tide,
right.
but yeah, we were Johnny come lately.
For World War One and World War II.
Correct. So
Yeah.
1914 in America, we're watching Europe and what's going on, but it's like this distant thing.
Okay.
And
I just wanted to place the story. That's all.
No, that's good because people are going to
my-
want to know. This one is people were way more concerned in the States about money and manners. The title of this article is Taxmen to Be Polite. Income tax inspectors must wipe their feet on the doormat and take off their hats when they enter a house to delve into the details of the private fortunes of individuals suspected of getting more than $8,000 a year and failing to report it to the government.
Can I just say something here?
Oh, absolutely.
I used to work for HMRC, which is the American equivalent, sorry, the British equivalent of your IRS. And I have never met a tax inspector who wears a hat. So already I'm a little concerned here that today's tax inspectors might not make the grade.
These are clearly going to people's homes and
Yeah,
going over stuff, where today you come to the office,
that's
where
true.
here
Yeah.
they're going into people's houses. Under no circumstances will they be permitted to strike matches on the wallpaper or slap the prospective taxpayer on the back in a "how do you do, old top" manner.
I thought you were going to say that they're not allowed to slap the person. And I'm like, oh, I would hope that they're not allowed to slap the person, but slap them on the back. Okay.
That's what I was going to as well.
It's the thought that people going into someone's house and just striking a match on the wall, was that commonplace?
I would say yes if it's in this article.
But they had to have done it. There was a complaint made.
Right.
That, yeah, the directions that are being given to the tax people are you have to wipe your feet, take off your hat, striking matches on the wall.
Now, no, they did not say you couldn't strike a match on the wall, just not the wall with wallpaper on it. So you have to, you can find like a regular wall and whoosh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Being the person whose job it is to create the rules and send this stuff out. Okay, penalty will be severe. So sure about this, actually. All evidence of lack of courtesy on the part of the inspectors or other income tax officials probably will result in severe reprimand or dismissal. Okay, already it's feeling a little less enthusiastic. Like, you probably get something's going to happen to you.
But you have to give a caveat because let's be honest, they're going into someone's home and I bet there's some people who aren't going to be happy and are probably not very hospitable to welcome them into their home.
But at
So
the same time, I'm just wondering if those are the things you can't do, what can you do? You can anything else? Can you just is it free reign? You know, you walk in naked as long as you're wearing a hat, that sort of thing. You can't be fired.
It's casual Friday. There is a warning in order to be polite just sent out to the agents by Commissioner of Internal Revenue Osborne, who wants it definitely understood that the force working under him must not be offensive in its enforcement of the law. So probably no nudity, because I'm thinking people would find that
offensive. Yeah.
Possibly.
Probably.
A slight chance.
If someone answers the door naked, then you know you can. Well, you're fine.
Yeah. It's fine.
That's right.
It's 1914, anything goes.
policy is an effort to overcome the charge of some opponents of the income tax law that the inspectors and other agents who try to probe into private affairs too deeply would be most annoying. Mr. Osborne wants the income tax to be as popular as possible for any tax to be, and is depending on the inspectors and collectors to work to this end. I think the highest positive you can be is going to be in the negative.
It makes me wonder, though, when was the income tax put into place?
Thank you, Nikki, because that is exactly what I wanted to know. And I fell down a rabbit hole. So I got some facts. When do you think, Nikki, the income tax started?
1935.
The article takes place in 1914.
I understand. Oh, but did it say it wanted to be as popular as the income tax?
No, it wanted to be as popular for any tax to be.
Okay. So the income tax could have been started after, right?
No, because he's talking about income tax.
Okay. Then
I'm suspecting the British, something to do with the British, I bet you, back in the 1700s or something.
They started having taxes, but I don't know. I don't remember them talking about what taxes they had other than taxation without representation.
And I'll tell you, that stuck because the U.S. income tax first began February 3rd, 1913. So this article is 1 year later.
Okay. Oh, so they're saying, we want you to be happy that we're taxing you. Right. That's what they wanted. They're just starting.
Yes. Now, this is a question either of you could answer, but I'm really directing it towards Yvonne, especially since you worked for the tax service.
Oh, I won't know anything. I don't know anything about taxes. I only worked for them.
When did Britain begin an income tax?
Oh, I'm thinking probably in the 18th century.
Just. The British income tax went back to 1799.
Oh, okay.
And it was to pay for the Napoleonic Wars.
Oh.
But you notice it doesn't happen during the colonial period where the Americans are fighting them about taxation. So they do it after the war's over. They can't tax America anymore, but they can tax their own people.
Yeah, we always liked our taxes. It goes, if you read the history books, back to, because HMRC stands for His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. And the customs side of things goes back hundreds of years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's quite nice to work for an organisation with such a long history as well. It is quite a thought that
part of tradition.
Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, people were doing what you do.
That is Jacqui, weird to think about.
Did you happen to pick this story because today is, I know this is going to be old by the time it comes out, but it is the 15th of April, which is when taxes have to be filed in the United States.
Not. Like, I just thought, and then I was like, oh, yeah, that will be timely. But that's not why I picked it.
Okay.
Now, it was interesting. So Britain started in 1799 to pay for a war. America's was influenced by a war as well. The Civil War, at that time, states were in charge of collecting taxes, and they decided to federalize it. The 16th Amendment of the Constitution, that's where the income tax comes from. They needed to change the Constitution to introduce an income tax that was federal. So right from the beginning, it was bracket system, depending on your income of how much you had to pay percentage-wise. In 1913, what do you guys think was the highest percentage the wealthiest people had to pay an income tax in 1913?
40%.
12%.
Okay, both way off. 7% was the top tier. The bottom tier, where most people fell into, 1%. If you made between $0 and $20,000 a year, and 20 grand in 1913 was a lot of money, you paid 1%. That was it.
No wonder why they wanted the tax man to, like, for them to be happy about this tax.
Yeah. Build me a time machine. I want build me a time machine and take me to New York.
believe in Britain, the highest, what they call the highest marginal rate. So it's the top tier. I want to say in Britain, it's 45%. I think that's what I saw.
I can't remember, but yeah, it's about there, maybe 50%, 45%. It depends where you are as well, because it's different in Scotland from England. And I'm
I
not sure.
noticed that England, Wales, Northern Ireland all did the same, but Scotland was not included, which that's so Scottish.
We like to do our own thing.
Absolutely. That this I found was crazy. In the United States, what do you guys think was the highest percentage the wealthiest people had to pay on taxes? So the highest marginal rate in history for the wealthy in the US.
Like ever?
Ever.
Oh, 21%?
21%? Just so you know, right now, the highest rate is 37%. So it's got to be higher than 37.
Okay. I don't think I knew it.
Would it be like during the war or something when they were raising money for this in the Second World War? So maybe it went up to 50-something% then.
Oh, Yvonne, you are so clever. You're right. The highest percentage ever was in 1944 and 1945 for the war effort. However, 50% they would have loved to have paid that. For the top tier, 94%.
Oh,
yeah.
Not even worth earning money.
Such a sense of patriotism and wanting to help the country during that
seriously question, they'd have that level of patriotism that they were willing to fork over 94% of their annual income for the war.
But did they make their money from their income, or were they making it from some
other sources? Yeah.
Yeah.
Our second story, this comes out of the Rock Valley Bee from Rock Valley, Iowa in June 12th, 1903. But all the events that took place happened in Michigan, our home state where we live. And I'd never heard of this thing, never, ever. And the only thing I started with was this article from Iowa about a Michigan news story. Headline: Murders charged. Kalkaska, Michigan. Assistant Prosecutor W.B. Totten has announced that a warrant would be issued soon for the arrest of Mrs. Mary McKnight, charging her with murder. She is now in jail, charged with poisoning her brother, John Murphy, and exhibits wonderful nerve. She asserts her innocence. The bodies of Murphy and his wife and 8-month-old baby were exhumed, and prosecuting attorney E.C. Smith left for Ann Arbor, where professors of the University of Michigan will make tests of the vital organs for poison symptoms. Dr. Pearlie Pearsall performed a post-mortem examination on the bodies of all three. I am certain that the three came to their death through poisoning, he said. The baby's stomach was worse eaten away by the poisoning than those of its parents. There was no other cause of death. So it starts with this. I feel like the article's very sympathetic to Mary.
Yeah.
Because they say she's exhibiting wonderful nerve.
It's a bit strange as well, isn't it? Why are they exhuming them? Why only after the fact are they discovering this poisoning? That's what I don't understand.
That is a great question. And this little article, again, led me down a whole other rabbit hole. So I had to do some more research. And there was way more to find. This article came from the Petoskey News, and it was done about a book that was made about Mrs. McKnight. You can tell there's a lot more to the story because somebody wrote a book about her. In the 1900s, a serial killer traveled about northern Michigan, leaving a trail of painful deaths behind in Alpena, Saginaw, Grayling, and Kalkaska County.
That's a lot of counties.
Yes. Mary McKnight was eventually arrested and tried for 3 murders, but was suspected of committing 5 or possibly 9 before being apprehended for the final 3. I feel there's a real vagueness in reporting there.
You know what, though? That's common in serial killers, because what they do is they have various things, but they can't prove why someone died easily. And sometimes people are Like, I know when I was looking at something recently about a serial killer, they're not sure how many he killed, but they think it could be a larger number because of missing cases in the area that he was at. You know what I mean? So they don't know.
And female
So
serial killers are so rare
It
in
is,
those
isn't it?
days.
yes,
And
yes,
that's what I'm
exactly.
thinking. Is this 1914 as well, this one? Or have
This is
I?
1903.
1903. It's even
Right, okay.
earlier.
But she's got to also move around. Now, in those days, transport across large areas, which I'm assuming those counties are it's probably quite a long way to travel.
You know
20
what?
miles maybe between the different counties.
Yeah, but
But
up to,
given 1903, the
yeah,
movement was a little bit more. But there's a reasoning of why she's in these different places.
okay.
So author Tobin Buck, it's Buhk. I have no idea how, he's just Tobin, provides details about the case in his recently published Michigan's Strychnine Saint, The Curious Case of Mrs. Mary McKnight. He chose that title because McKnight was seen as caring and kind by her family, always willing to help any of them in need of her care. Let me tell you, this woman is not Florence Nightingale. 3 of the murders for which McKnight was prosecuted were those of her brother, John Murphy, his wife, Gertrude, and their infant daughter, Ruth. McKnight had left her home in Grayling after a 6-year-old died under her care to spend time in her mother's home in Springfield Township near Fife Lake. McKnight's brother and his family were also staying there until their new home was completed. In just a couple of weeks, John's infant, his wife, and then John died, all after they'd been under McKnight's care. When several suspicious circumstances involving the deaths came to the Kalkaska County prosecutor's attention, he ordered John's and later Gertrude's and the baby's bodies exhumed. Fatal amounts of strychnine were found. Examining McKnight's family history, the prosecutor discovered more suspicious deaths, including that of her 2 husbands. I get it's 1903 and people died a lot more back then, but like, how are people not asking questions after her
So this is like a Black Widow kind of situation here.
It's like Black family. It's just crazy.
But it doesn't, I would say though, when you left a town, things didn't necessarily travel with you, like in terms of your past. When you left, because people weren't traveling, if you went a couple towns over, do you know what I mean? Don't necessarily know that you had a husband back there, other than you say, I was widowed. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think about her mom and her brother. They're both going to know her husband's died.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, 1 is a tragedy, 2 smacks of carelessness.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It's hard. You look at these cases, things like Typhoid Mary, and it took them a long time to twig that she was the source of various outbreaks, because even in cities, it was difficult to put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. Oh, so she must be one of America's first serial killers then, this lady that you're describing.
That's a good question. I don't know if she's what is the first? Okay.
Yeah, I have no
listeners,
idea.
if you know who the first female serial killer in America was, please go to like my Facebook or Instagram account and leave me a message, because I'm really interested to know. And somebody knows this. They're really
makes me think of Arsenic and Old Lace, the play. Like,
Yeah.
I'm helping them find their release.
going to get worse, Nikki. You are absolutely right to make that connection.
Okay.
There is no question she did it.
Right.
There was another article that came from The World. This was out of New York, June 11th, 1903. By the way, I'm going to leave links to all this stuff on the episode notes. Mrs. Mary McKnight, who was in jail here, charged with the murder of her own brother, John Murphy, Gertrude Murphy, his young wife, and their 3-month-old babe, has made a confession as follows. So this is her confession. The baby woke up and cried while its mother was gone, and I mixed up a little strychnine in a glass with some water and gave a spoonful to the baby. I didn't mean to harm the little thing at all. I confessed all to the Lord this afternoon, and I feel that he has forgiven me.
But it's so annoying when you accidentally murder someone, isn't it? Not again.
When Gertrude came home and found the baby dead, she got awfully nervous. She came to me and said, Mary, can't you give me something to quiet me? Something that you take yourself?
Here, have some permanent silence.
I said that I would, and I
Oh,
really didn't think that it would hurt her if I gave her one of the capsules. She had spasms right after that, and I suppose that it was the strychnine that killed her. I really didn't mean to harm her. Then John seemed to feel so badly about it, so broken up, that I often thought after Gertie died that he would be better if he were to go too.
So our sick and old lace. So our sick and old lace.
such a kindness.
It's a kindness, exactly.
John was feeling bad one night a couple of weeks later. He came to me and wanted something to quiet him.
Oh,
I had 2 or 3 of the capsules on my dresser, and I told him to go and get one of them. I didn't mean to hurt him, but I thought it would soothe him. And then I thought that it would be for the best if he were to go anyway. He helped himself. I don't know whether he took 1 or 2. Then he went to bed, and by he called me. Mother came too, and he began to have those same symptoms. I suppose that was the strychnine working.
Of course, I just have some of those on my dresser for my murder needs.
yeah. Just in case I needed to murder someone at any point.
That's right.
By this confession, like, I'm calling bullshit at this point. She gives strychnine to the baby, dies. She gives strychnine to the mom dies. And then her brother comes and she's work.
But to be honest, from her confession, she thought that maybe it was best for him to join his.
I'm starting to question all of this. You think of how many people have taken strychnine and died?
I believe that, yes, I question all of her thoughts, because especially if, I don't know, maybe that's her first husband. I'm sorry we argued. I want some quiet. Do you have an idea of how I can get some quiet?
Time out or stabbing someone in the throat. It doesn't really matter, does it?
There have been 18 deaths among Mrs. McKnight's immediate associates or in her own family in less than that number of years. How has she not figured this out?
I was going to say, you'd think she'd have noticed that there was a pattern.
I believe she did. And then she decided to exploit that pattern.
Now, I had the question. I don't know if this occurred to either of you guys. I would want to know, was strychnine actually used for medicinal purposes?
Yeah.
Because she kept saying, oh, I'm giving them this and I'm trying to help
Right.
them. The answer is yes.
Oh, right.
But they were idiots. Strychnine was popularly used as an athletic performance enhancer and recreational stimulant in the late 19th century and early 20th century due to its convulsant effects. One notorious instance of its use was during the 1904 Olympics marathon, when track and field athlete Thomas Hicks was unwillingly administered a concoction of egg whites and brandy laced with a small amount of strychnine by his assistants to boost his stamina. Hicks won the race, but was hallucinating by the time he reached the finish line and soon after collapsed. Maximilian Busch proposed it as a cure for alcoholism around the same time. That's a pretty harsh cure for alcoholism.
Death.
It was thought to be.
It does cure alcoholism, death.
It's going to be your last drink.
It's a harsh cure there, but
You're not going to go back on the booze after that, are you?
It was thought to be similar to coffee.
Yeah.
They're saying that it was acting like a stimulant, like cocaine, or do you know what I mean? So I can see where it would make people hallucinate, but that people may like the craziness that it gives you.
It was the it did that, but yeah, you can't believe I'm going to say this. You were safer with cocaine.
They did use cocaine and other poppy seed derivatives then, didn't they? And morphine and that sort of thing, didn't they? As medicines, and
Right.
they were legal, and they were in children's medicines even, which seems horrific to us these days, but it was all quite normal. And didn't, maybe I'm wrong, but didn't Coca-Cola have cocaine in it back
Yeah,
when
in
it
the day?
started. And that's what gets me. Is like, why is she giving strychnine? Why isn't she giving an opiate like everybody else back then?
Yeah,
Give him some
maybe it
morphine.
was easier to get.
yeah. You're doing a great job of dismantling the defense here, Jacqui.
We've reached the end of part 1 of today's episode. Our commentary a bit longer than I expected, so I decided to break this episode up into 2 parts. The second half will be released in a week's time, so you won't have to wait long to hear about our third story. I have plenty of links in this week's episode notes. I've got links for Yvonne and the news articles. We had a great time talking about these odd stories. I would love to hear your thoughts about them. Head on over to my Facebook or Instagram pages and put in your 2 cents. Don't forget, there is still time to send in your stories about endings for my upcoming story share. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. A special shout out to my new fans in Kentucky. Until next time, I wish you well.